Intimacy? Why would you want intimacy in a learning management system, Dr. Campbell? You mean like, I don't know, usernames? Avatars? Buttons to address people privately in the system? Buttons to lead you to chat? Buttons to lead you to websites? Why would you want that? That'll be messy. What if somebody breaks it? Etc. There were no cognition prints. This learning management system was on the web, but it was not of the web. It wasn't even what I would call Web 1.0. And I would ask the reps every year, where's the space for student authoring in here? And I would get the same answers. Either it's under development or the question was not understood. So I switched again. I switched because of observability. A colleague of mine named Gene Roach at the College of William and Mary was in his office one day, and ironically, my boss and I had gone down to talk to him about how William and Mary had switched to the enterprise level Blackboard. I do not remember what Gene told me that day about Blackboard. What I do remember is that he had bought space on a web hosting service called Blog Hosts for $5 a month, where he would have his own domain, and he could experiment with a whole set of Web 2.0 tools. And he said, if I mess something up, I just get in touch with the sysop blog hosts, and they blow it up, and I can start again the next day. And I said, $5 a month? He said, yeah, $15 a year to get your domain. So I went home, I got out my credit card, and spent $5. And this was the first thing that I ran on my web hosting service. A discussion forum for my Intro to Film class, using a free script called PHP BB, which I'm going to be talking about here for a little bit, not because it's the all-singing, all-dancing solution to all the world's problems, but because it has some of these things in it that I've been talking about, and because the results were amazing. When I ran this, I told students where they'd find it, I helped them sign up. It was a bit of a time suck. It wasn't centrally administered. But the frequency of posting doubled that semester. 100% improvement. What about the quality? The quality went up as well. Partly because students were able to do things interactively they couldn't do before. Poll each other. So that when a student says, at what point did you know that Rosebud was the, I won't say in case you haven't seen the movie. There was a poll. And I said to myself, oh, I get it. My students are now tutoring each other in film criticism by playing on the forum. The poll is something I would have done, right? And if it were now, I'd have you all have clickers. They were doing it themselves, and you could see the results immediately on PHP BB. They could choose avatars. Why did avatars matter? Because it was theirs. It was a choice of identity. It was a presentation and performance of self. It was attention and addressivity. They chose their own usernames. I knew who they were, but they didn't need to, unless they wanted to, reveal their identities to each other. They could have a profile where they could tell you more about each other, send private messages to the system, email, web page if they had it, their AIM chat address if they wanted to. And those were all choices they could make about how they could be contacted in this system. I still knew things like how often they had posted. Bluebird here posted 291 times in one semester and was not overbearing, which was a neat trick. And I could play too. You see this here? Entertainment, conglomerate, the next Orson Welles, the next Orson Welles. Those were ranks. What are ranks? Ranks were labels automatically applied as they posted more. So if they posted 5 times, they got to the rank of actor. If they posted 10 times, they were director, 25 times producer, etc. I didn't tell them I was doing that. So one day in class, a student said, "Dr. Campbell, why am I now an entertainment conglomerate?" And I said, It was a nice little moment when we got to play together. I got to talk a little bit about the vertical structure of Hollywood production, and we had a laugh. Most startling of all to me, probably, this fellow here, Egon. He emailed me the day the forum went up, and he said, "Could you give us another couple of themes to choose from?" And I said, "Sure." And then I Googled PHP-BB theme, because I didn't know what he was asking me for. But I figured, we've got to be able to find this somewhere. He was asking me to put up more choices for the look and feel of the forum. How did he know to ask for that? Because this stuff is bog standard on the web. It lives on the web. It's of the web. He knew what that was. He felt comfortable enough, thinking if I was doing something as strange as putting up PHP-BB for a class, surely I would know what themes were. I didn't. But I learned. So the learner could now customize the look and feel of the learning environment and ask me for help with that. I said, whoa, this is something a little bit different. So I kept at it. This is from section 2 of Introduction to Literary Studies, just last spring, required for majors. There were 2 sections, the 9 o'clock and the 11 o'clock section. They were in different forums, but they could see each other's forums. They could even see the now closed but still visible forum from when I taught the class the semester before. Same syllabus, different class, different discussion. They began posting in each other's forums. They chose avatars, and then we had an avatar festival at the end in which I said, explain your avatar. Why'd you choose that one? Here's something really strange. Spring '08, this thread, A Little Place to Sit, was started by a student. Oh yeah, students can start their own threads. This fellow started this thread on Tuesday, February 19, 2008, and the thread went something like this. Do you find what we're learning in this class to be affecting other classes you're taking? That thread is still going on. I do not work at the University of Mary Washington anymore. The grades are in. Why are they still posting? What are they doing in this thread? They posted irregularly over the summer, have continued to post as recently as last Wednesday, about their summer reading, about the classes they're taking now, about how Dr. Kennedy is such a wonderful teacher. She is a wonderful teacher. She was my department chair at Mary Washington. About, sometimes, how the stuff they learned in my class continues to reverberate in the other classes they've taken. Sometimes they'll just post about a book they've read. I think this is happening because it's observable, because it's persistent, because it's intimate and meaningful, because the forum is associated with a course, but it's not course-centered. And the domain is my domain name. It's not the university's. I don't know that that has a big effect, but I know that our students do tend to think that school is a bounded activity. We don't want them to think that. Learning should be unbound. I am now on a hosting service called Bluehost because BlogHost went out of business, but I got all my data out. Bluehost costs $7 a month. This is not as easy to administer as Blackboard, but you could learn everything you need to know in about an hour and a half.